everyone. I'm CBS19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony, and welcome to Brett's Beach Ball Forecast for June 20th, 2025. We did not have a beach ball forecast last week because I was on the beach. I was on a cruise. Left out of Miami, went down to the private island, went on down to Nassau, and came on back. We had great weather. We had a couple of very light rain showers, and that was it. Lots of sunshine. And if you have a cruise out of Galveston, or if you're flying to Miami or Port Everglades or Fort Lauderdale and you are sailing in the Atlantic this weekend, it looks fantastic. Let's go over that forecast for you. Let's first talk about what we're going to see locally here. We do have some brownish skies as the sun is setting. Believe it or not, we have a fair amount of Saharan dust still in the atmosphere. Saharan dust from the Sahara Desert, yes! It can travel about a mile above the surface all the way across the Atlantic, driven by the trade winds, makes it into the Gulf. It really doesn't have much of an impact. Maybe it degrades the air quality just a little bit, but more so it has this effect on our beautiful sunsets, makes them kind of a brownish, kind of yellowish, orangish tinge. And that's going to last through the weekend, and then the dust sort of subsides, but there's another plume moving into the Atlantic. So on our cruise last week, we had some really vibrant sunrises and sunsets, especially in this part of the world where we had a ton of Saharan dust. But you know what it does also? It suppresses hurricane, tropical storm, and thunderstorm development. So if you do have a cruise that is headed even from Galveston and you're going all the way over to say, one of the private islands in the Bahamas, or maybe down toward Cozumel, Costa Maya, or on down to Belize, it looks like this plume of Saharan dust should keep you out of any trouble when it comes to tropical storm systems. The eye on the tropics here tonight, it's really, really quiet for the middle to the latter part of June. Yeah, there are a couple of little waves trying to get going, one here west of Puerto Rico. There's another little wave out here just off the east coast of the United States. Gulf of Mexico, pretty quiet. This area here being watched. There's a little warmer air across, or warmer water, I should say, in Central America. And so maybe something tries to develop, but there are some forces that'll counteract that. We did have Hurricane Eric hit Acapulco in southwestern parts of Mexico with heavy rain and flooding. There's another area that is being watched out here in the Pacific. So if you are flying to California and sailing perhaps down toward one of the Mexican resorts, you may have an impact there, but otherwise things are looking pretty good. I'll widen things out here over the next 2 to 7 days. The chance of development, so this is important if you have a cruise coming out of Galveston on Sunday, if you're flying down to Miami, picking up a cruise ship, or Florida on Sunday, next 7 days, 0 chance of development. Okay, so that's really good news. We are into hurricane season. We are starting to see things pick up on average a little bit around the 20th. But we really don't see things pick up until the latter parts of July once we get into August. So still some good cruising weather, good vacation weather in the islands. Warm ocean water temperatures are there. It would support the development of something, as we see plenty of 80+ degree water. In fact, if you were headed to Galveston, Corpus Christi, South Padre Island, and you dipped your toe in the Gulf, it's going to feel really warm. Not going to be a shock to the system for sure. Even South Florida or Tampa, you've got some really warm water there. We were in the Bahamas last week. They told us that the water temperature was 98 degrees. It wasn't 98 degrees. It might have been last summer, but it was more in the line of about 83 or 84. Plus, if it gets up close to 100 degrees, we're talking about coral bleaching, and that is a really big concern. And we did have some temperatures like that last year, but it's not that warm yet. I can tell you that from personal experience. There's 80 degree water going all the way out into the Atlantic. Again, that's pretty conducive or supportive for a hurricane. Anything above 80 degrees would support a hurricane. The tropical storm energy is there. There's a ton of it. But again, I'm going to talk about some of the limiting factors coming up in just a little bit. This is a forecast going over the next 7 days. The tropical storm energy, of course, this time of the year, we're now into summer, and we've got just a lot of heat, a lot of humidity. And so that's not going to change. So that's going to stay with us over the next 7 days, from the Eastern Caribbean to the Western Caribbean, all the way through the Gulf, down into Central America. And this is the area where we'd have the best potential to see something develop. And climatologically speaking, it's kind of the area early here in the hurricane season where we typically would see something. And if you look at this, this is going to be the warm water depth. So these are temperatures that are above 80 degrees and how deep they go. And here in this area, they're going down to about 160 feet. So that's really deep. Why is that important? Because if a tropical storm or a hurricane can bring up that kind of energy from, or that type of temperature in those warm waters from deep within the ocean, then that can sustain the storm or help it get stronger. If you go down deeper and the water is colder, and as that storm brings that colder air up, or upwelling comes up into the storm, of course, it knocks it down. So this is an area watched and being watched carefully for the possibility, maybe not in 7 days, but maybe out in 7 to 14 days for some possible development. But we need a little storm strength. So what are we seeing here? I talked about a couple of little waves that are going by. This will be over the next 7 days. I'm going to stop this. And you'll notice we have our east to west flow closer to the equator. There's a little wave coming across Puerto Rico into eastern parts of Cuba. Just tiny little waves. There's a little stronger spin here. That's headed up into the Atlantic. Just these little pieces of energy that just never really get going throughout the next 4 to 7 days. Just a couple more little waves trying to move across through the Bahamas, up off the coast of Florida. That's it. I mean, it's really relatively quiet when all things are considered, especially once we get into this time of the year. Okay, so I talked about the warm water depth in Central America where the temperatures were above 80 going down to about 160 feet. So you'd say, well, but there's not really any kind of spin going on. In addition to that, we have to look for areas of shear, high shear. As thunderstorms develop and build vertically in the atmosphere, areas of high shear will tear off the top of those thunderstorms. So they can't build vertically, and they just become little clusters of showers and thunderstorms, and that's essentially what we're seeing. So we will look out over the next, again, week to 8-9 days, you'll see high areas of shear. There's no shear in the Gulf, but there are no storms either. There's high areas of shear in that important development region of Central America. So this would really limit the ability for any tropical storm to form. Waves, yes. Clusters of thunderstorms, yes. Tropical systems, not likely. With no tropical systems, you're likely going to have some very smooth seas as you sail. These wave heights here would be closer to maybe 3 to 6 feet, 2 to 4s in the darker blue, so really calm seas headed through the Gulf all the way down to Cozumel, Costa Maya, all the way down to Belize. Look at the waves. It was so smooth last week. It was like glass throughout the Bahamas from Miami down to Coco Cay and then back to Nassau and then sailing back. I mean, it was just absolutely smooth sailing. That would be the case if you were taking a ship out of Tampa and you were headed down to Cozumel. You'd run into a little wavier action closer to the Yucatan Peninsula, but just absolutely great sailing weather, great vacation weather at this point of the year. In June. This is going to be the forecast over the next 4 to 7 days. And again, the wave heights are real calm throughout the Gulf and into the eastern and western Caribbean and even out into the Atlantic. There's just not a lot happening. All right, so let's give it the beach ball rating. If you're headed to Galveston for the weekend, you got a good one. Monday evening, though, there's a chance for some thunderstorms. So because of those thunderstorms, we'll give it out a 3 out of 4 beach ball rating for Galveston. Saturday's high temperature near 90. Sunday, upper 80s. I think there's a chance by the time we get to Monday for some sea breeze showers to develop. Saturday and Sunday likely are going to be dry. Port Aransas, oh, looks fantastic. Breezy southeast winds, highs in the upper 80s. It is a 4 out of 4 beach ball weekend. All right, Gulf Shores forecast. 3 out of 4. You have some morning thunderstorms over in Gulf Shores if you're making that journey. Kind of hot on Saturday. Partly cloudy Sunday. South Padre Island looks fantastic. But it's that typical South Padre Island where it's 85 degrees and the humidity is just out of control. You have the strong winds, great kite flying weather, good beach weather. Showed you the water temperatures are pretty warm all the way at the southern tip of Texas. So looking pretty good. We'll go 4 out of 4 beach balls for South Padre Island. How about Destin? Chance for some evening thunderstorms on Saturday, 3 out of 4. Sunday, Monday look pretty good. Pretty warm with high temperatures in the 90. Anywhere you get a coastal area that's close to 90 degrees, you're really cranking up some heat. Gulfport, Mississippi, Saturday 90, 89 on Sunday. Monday, some morning thunderstorms will give it a 3 out of 4 beach ball rating. All right, let's take a look at the extended outlook. This is just going to be showing you clusters of showers and thunderstorms, not really any kind of deep dive into what's going on in terms of water temperatures or waves. These are just clusters of showers and thunderstorms that would be possible as we head through next week. You can see some sea breeze showers starting to kick up into the southeastern parts of Texas, coastal Bend area as we get into next Wednesday and Thursday. You've got other clusters of showers and thunderstorms throughout the Bahamas. Look at this. If you were headed down to Costa Maya on the 25th, that's next Wednesday, you'd have some showers and thunderstorms to contend with. And again, more of this sort of sea breeze activity onto some of those land masses that kick up those showers and thunderstorms all the way in to next Friday when we update the next beach ball forecast. So certainly can't rule out rain. This does not mean it rains all day in every part of this area. This is pretty low resolution data, so it just suggests that in this area we could have some showers and thunderstorms. All right, that's a look at this week's beach ball forecast. Of course, thank you for watching us on the Facebook page and on our YouTube channel and CBS19 Plus. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, questions about destinations that you're headed, please leave those in the comments below, and I will try to answer those as best as I can. Share your cruise pictures. Love to see those also on the Facebook page. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the beach.